for example, when the explosion happened, like right after it, I told my mom that like really we need to move out of Lebanon, because like for the first time I felt like I wasn't safe at all, at all, at all.
Hello and a very warm welcome to How Do You Do It? A podcast for all those who want to be inspired and get more out of life. If you want tools and advice to live a better life, then you've come to the right place. Okay, guys, welcome to How Do You Do It, the podcast hosted by me, Naomi. Today, I am delighted to have Stephanie Boustany joining me on the podcast/video. So Stephanie works for the United Nations. She's ordinarily based in Dubai, but due to the coronavirus situation, she is in her home country, Lebanon. She's inspiring. She's a great role model, especially to my little girl. And I am really excited to have her on the show. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast/show.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Nai, for having me. It's a great honor to be with you on your show. And I'm just like super proud of you. You're my favorite cousin, you know that.
You're the sweetest.
And you're one of my favorite people.
You are too. But Steph, I think that you have so much insight, and I thought, especially after the Beirut blast, and I know how much you love Lebanon. I know how devastating it was for you. So I thought I would have you on so you can actually share with our audience what life is like there since all of this began. So when did it begin, and what's going on at the moment?
Okay, so it all began on the 17th of October of last year, 2019, where people started going to the streets to manifest against the corrupt leaders, the corrupt politicians, and because of the economic situation that was like really bad and still is. And after that, we had the coronavirus, as you've mentioned. And we thought that that was the peak, but after that, little did we know. 2 weeks ago, we had the explosion at the port of Beirut that was caused by 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, and we still don't know how that exploded yet. But like there are investigations going. We don't know if we're ever going to know the truth, but like it really doesn't matter. We know it's corruption, and but at the same time, like good things came out of this. Like despite all the negative things, like now we have like 300,000 homeless people. We had like over 200 killed, over 5,000 or 6,000 injured. And with this I'm not even mentioning all the buildings that were destroyed. But despite all this, like we saw a great resilience that the Lebanese people have. Like everyone, all the young people were volunteering, and like
I saw so many photos, and I thought it was so interesting because like when things happen in Australia, you see people in uniforms, and people like, you know, even volunteers are wearing uniforms, and people in specialty equipment. But what you see in Lebanon is really, like you said, the resilience of the human spirit, and they are literally making do with whatever they have, like old tea towels, anything that they have, they're just using to clean up the streets, to help each other out. It's such a beautiful community, and the way that the people have stepped up when there isn't a proper system is just amazing. It's really amazing.
It's so true. Like we don't even really feel safe here, but like it's the will of the people that's keeping us going. Like as you've said, we don't see people wearing uniform, or even like we see people from NGOs or different organizations. They're not even wearing anything that says like with the name of their organization. Like they're helping people because they are citizen of this country, because they love Lebanon, because they love Beirut. Like everyone was clearing up the rubble, and like I even went there a couple of days to help people clean their houses, and I was there fixing the windows with nylons.
Wow.
So so it was
That's
amazing,
awesome.
and I think this is what's helping people heal. Like
Yeah.
when you help other people, so yeah.
It's true. I
And
think when you feel helpless, but then you help someone else, you do feel like you're healing and it feels a bit better.
yes, and like it's all about individualistic actions here.
Mm.
For example, the government has resigned. There's no government now, and like anyway, the politicians are corrupt and stuff.
Yeah.
But so people are coming up with initiatives. For example, my friend, she's an expat. She's based in Sydney now,
Yes.
and she started this initiative. Like she's a speech therapist.
Yes.
So she reached out to her. She reached out to psychiatrists, psychologists,
Mm.
psychotherapists, etc. To, to come up with this initiative and help people who are traumatized and who are in need for help. And all this is for free. So they are
Wow.
volunteering. Yeah. So
That's
this is
really
amazing.
cool.
And
It
this is
is.
only like one initiative.
Yeah. I'm the same as you. Like I see so many like expats and people in the diaspora just reaching out and saying like, how can we
Yeah.
help? We want to help. And I
True.
think
So
it's
true.
the kind of country that like it's got such a people you have. I think for me, we were talking about this offline before. Um, Even though I left Lebanon when I was one,
Yeah.
and I lived in Australia and I'm Australian, I still feel that really strong connection to
Yeah.
Lebanon. And it never leaves you. And you look at the diaspora of Lebanon and people are still so strongly tied to
Yes.
Lebanon.
Yes.
Um,
It's so true.
and I don't know, there's something really special about it. There really is something special about it. And I think I think the people are very warm. And when you go there, you kind of feel like you're part of something, something bigger. And I think a lot of it is because the people kind of have to support each other because of the lack of government support and systems and infrastructure.
Yes. Yes.
It's crazy. I
It's so
remember,
true.
do you remember that story when I first went to Lebanon when I was 16? Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I really struggled because I was with my grandmother, my
Yeah.
grandfather, and it was, now I look at it, it was an amazing experience. But back then,
I
having
know.
left Lebanon when I was one, coming from Australia, I was like, what on earth is going on? And so I
Yeah.
told one of our cousins when the dog was being mistreated, his neighbor's dog. Do you remember this story? And I
Yes, I
said
do.
to him, I'm like, how are they mistreating this dog? You should call the RSPCA. And he said, what is this RSPCA? And I said, it's like, and I said it in Arabic. I said, it's like a animal welfare agency. And he's still like, what is an animal welfare agency? And I'm like, it's like a police, but like to help out dogs. And then he looked at me and he said, we need a police, like to help out people. And then I was like, oh, okay. And it was then that I realized how much I didn't know about I don't know, about the way that Lebanon is. And then it made me really, reflecting on that memory, really appreciate the people, because
Yes.
everything that has progressed in Lebanon is because of the people, not the government, not the systems in place. It is really the
So
heart
true.
and resilience of the people. And often the people
Yes.
don't have much money. It is just sheer determination and, like you said, a love of Lebanon to say, you know
Yes.
what, we're going to keep going. And you know what also surprises me? How educated the Lebanese people are all around the world. They're very educated. And I think that makes it even more frustrating because you have these highly educated people that are so skilled,
Like you
like
already have the
yourself.
human capital.
Yeah, like yourself, who are now working in Dubai. So all these places around the world are benefiting from these amazing, talented people. So this is my other question. Um, and I want, and I guess I know the answer, but I guess I want people listening to know the answer. If you could have more opportunities to work in Lebanon, would you have moved to Dubai and your friends? Like, what's the situation when you graduate and you're 3 languages, and yeah, so you're an expert in a field. Why do you and all your friends decide to leave?
Okay, so for me, it was like a little bit different. So I went to Dubai, and the only reason why I decided to leave was because like there was this thing. It was like it still is like a privilege for me that like part of the team that I work with is based in Beirut. So I often have to travel back to Beirut on work missions other than like holidays and stuff. So it's like really hard for me when I'm abroad, but like I feel that I'm close to Lebanon, but I don't know how the rest of people do it. But yeah, like as you've said, people they go out of Lebanon to look for opportunities. Like they mainly go to have another passport to be able to escape Lebanon, because like people don't really feel safe here, because you don't know when there's going to be a bomb that's gonna you know
Go, and that's so scary. I mean, like, we can say that now, but, and I can say it all the way from like Switzerland, but really
yes,
I can't believe how many things you hear Lebanese people say that
yes,
anywhere else in the world it'll be like outrageous. Like, oh,
so true.
there might be a bomb tomorrow down the road, and it's like
Yes,
there's something
yes,
so wrong with that.
yeah,
And I don't know what the answer is. I really don't, because when I watch all these, I actually think about, like, you and I are first cousins, and I always think about the fact that my mum and dad left because they wanted better work opportunities than the ones in Lebanon. So then, and then they told as many people as possible to come to Australia because there were way more opportunities and it was safer for their children to grow up. Okay.
definitely. I
But
think that's the main reason actually
because it's
for people
safer for
live.
children.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's safer. Yeah,
it's so true. And then, and you're right, because it's really interesting because mum and dad still love Lebanon very much. And if you
yes.
could guarantee them that it was safe,
They
like,
would come back.
they would go back.
Yeah.
And I think that
Without hesitation, like
yeah,
yeah.
and if you
I
say,
think it's
okay,
the same for it's the
and I
same
think
for
it's
all
hard.
expats. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And they keep coming back for their holidays.
Mhm,
In the time where they could go like anywhere else in the world, they choose to come back to Lebanon.
yeah,
So yeah, so that's amazing about Lebanon. It's funny at the same time. Like
yeah,
you can't really understand it, but
no,
actually, yeah, like in essence, it's the people here.
it's true.
It's the people. Like you can't even describe Lebanon to anyone. Like they'd have to feel it. They'd have to
True.
experience it themselves to know what we're talking about.
And you know what else I was thinking about? People, I think Lebanon is one of the most, from all most people that I've met who are not very well traveled, people don't understand Lebanon. It's I'm trying to find the word, like, it geographically, people don't even know what it looks like. They often think it's a desert, they
Definitely.
don't understand how culturally diverse it is, as in
Yes.
our ancestry is so diverse. Like, they always
Yes.
think we look a certain way, they think the landscape
Yes.
is a certain way. And
Yes.
so I know that it's the wrong time, but like, when
Yes.
things are safer, I would strongly suggest that people visit Lebanon, help with the
They
tourism,
have to.
discover the
Yeah.
beaches, meet the
Yeah.
people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's such an amazing place. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like, before that, I feel like you and I know this is like, anyone who knows me knows I'm dramatic and I talk in hyperboles, but we are like twins separated at birth.
We
And
are.
this is what is so heartbreaking. And it is like, I was watching Parent Trap with Chelsea the other night, that Lindsay Lohan
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. I love it.
And it was like the two twins separated into two
Yes.
different countries, and then you miss out on one
Yes.
parent or whatever. And I feel like that with you, and I feel
Yeah.
like we connect, even though we really, maybe I can count on my fingers 5 times we've been in the same country together.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
yet
Me too.
yeah, and yet we connect so much. And I find that, I know, I think about how many other stories there are of people whose family, like, you know, cousins and relatives have stayed in a country and then they've grown up in another country. And it's sad and it's heartbreaking, but at the same
It
time, it's
is.
beautiful. I do think that we can still connect, but it is also
Yes.
heartbreaking because we didn't grow up together. We have photos,
It's so
you know,
true.
that up
Yeah.
until like what, I don't know, 3 or something, and
Yes.
then separated. But and I think that it's hard. And I feel like I was saying this to my husband the other day. I always talk about cultural identity, and I was saying it to you just before the call.
Yeah.
When I go to Lebanon, let's face it, I can make errors speaking in Lebanese, and sometimes they're hilarious.
Yes.
So, and even though I think I speak very well, and I've often been complimented on the fact that I've left Lebanon when I was one. I left Lebanon when I was one, and I can still speak and understand. And often it takes people like a while to realize that I'm not from Lebanon, and they often think I'm from the countryside, like from a coastal
Yeah. Yeah.
town and not the city because of my
They
accent.
think that you've got an accent.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. They're like, oh, you have an accent. You speak like my grandmother. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Like your
Yeah.
accent is like my grandmother. And
Yes.
I was like, that's because the only person I really spoke Arabic to was my grandmother. So I have that
Yeah.
older generation accent and vocabulary.
So
Um,
true.
and so I feel like I don't completely belong in Lebanon. And they always, as soon as, you know, they realize I don't know where the corner shop is, or I don't know where the Bardoni is, like I can't give any
Yeah.
directions. They're like, okay,
You
she's,
get busted.
I get
Yeah.
busted. Yeah, I can, you know, talk about manouche and falafel for like 5 minutes, and you know, and then they're like, where's this? And I'm out. I have no idea. So
Yeah.
the thing is, so I'm never really like accepted as Lebanese fully. Okay. And then in Australia, it's like you're Australian, but like, well, where are you from? Where are your parents from? So you're not even like completely Australian,
Yes.
even though that depends on who you meet. And I've met, like, to be honest, I've been very lucky. I've worked in very progressive places, and like I'm totally Australian to them. Like,
Yeah.
but some people you still meet and they're like, where are your parents from? You know, this is
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah. Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Yeah.
you have this kind of like, who am I? Where am I from? In saying that, when things happen in Lebanon, I've realized how much it hurts. And then I
Yes.
feel, oh my goodness, this will never leave me. I will always be Lebanese. You know, I'll always be Australian, but I'll always be Lebanese. And when I
Yes.
speak to you and we can have jokes in Arabic, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I fit in. Like I fit in with
Yeah.
Lebanese people.
Yeah.
Um and it's a really cool feeling when you can fit in two places and just like feel like you belong. But what I was going to ask you is, how do Lebanese people feel knowing that so much of the diaspora and their families and everything? Like, how do you feel about all that? Like, how does that make you feel?
Do you mean how do I feel about having like many Lebanese in the diaspora?
All your cousins are
Yes.
overseas, and like, how does
Yes.
that, like, I feel like you're the ones there. Do you
Yes.
feel?
Yes. Like many times I'd feel left out, and like I'd call my aunties and tell them, because like most of you traveled when I was like before I was born,
Mm,
like few months before I was born. So I keep telling, like specifically my grandma
mm,
and your grandma, our grandma. So how could you leave us? How could you leave my mom and
mm,
like all this? Yeah,
mm.
and yeah, and I also tell that to my aunties. But so yeah, like I've
It's
always
hard.
felt sad about it, yeah, and I've
Yeah.
always wished that we could also move to be next to you. So yeah, but at the same time, like we're lucky that we stayed here and you're there, so we can also share experiences and we
Yeah.
can visit each other. But like it's not the same.
I know.
Like if I were to, like it was never my choice anyway. Like it
Yeah.
was my parents, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like definitely I would have preferred to be with you guys in
And
the
us
same
too.
country.
Us too.
Yeah,
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 and it's heartbreaking because everyone always says like, do you have family in Lebanon? And it's like,
yes,
yes, yes, we have
yeah,
family there.
yeah, yeah,
And I know it's been really, really hard, but like I love that we stayed in contact. I think one thing that our parents did very well is
yeah,
that they really told us stories about each other, and were really positive in us connecting, and I thought that was like really, really cool, really cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think about like now my children are away from their family, you know, like back
Yeah.
in Australia. But then I think about you, and I think about how strong you are and how you make such a
Yes.
big effort to communicate
Yes.
to everyone. And I try to hope, well, I try to encourage Chelsea rather to do the same, you know, because
Yeah.
I kind of understand how your mum feels because my nephews are in Australia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but
Yeah.
also I feel like lucky because she was in a country where the government was not supportive and there wasn't any opportunities, and like even the rights of women, like it's not the same. It's really not the same. And how
It's so true. Like women can't even give the nationality to their children. So it's only men. They can't even open a bank account for their kids. Like the father has to approve. It's a patriarchal
society, yeah.
community society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a really sad thing for me because my children, as you know, like I can't pass on any Lebanese citizenship to them
Yeah.
because their dad is not Lebanese. But if
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a man, I could. I know this is something that for me, sadly, is a reason why, like, it's, I know it sounds horrible, but it's a reason to kind of like
Like they don't want me there. You
yeah,
feel like
yeah, it's like
yes.
it's it kind of makes me feel like, oh, so my children are not accepted, like, you know. But then, like you said, this is like, and this is me just being completely honest, like I have this really strange relationship with Lebanon where I'm so frustrated at the government and I'm so angry at them because of what they do, and they have these amazing people and they don't support them and they don't accept my children, and I'm like, yeah. But then I go to Lebanon and I meet the
Yes.
people and I'm like, oh, I love this place, and I have this really
Yeah.
complicated relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's such a phenomenal place. And you know, everywhere that I go when I meet Lebanese people, um there's like such a warmth. And the interesting thing is they are also very warm to foreigners, and this
They
is
are.
not very
And
common
really
in every culture.
hospitable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not common in every culture. A lot of
It's
cultures
not. It's
they won't
not.
even speak to you if you
So
can't
true.
speak that language.
Yes.
But in
Yes.
Lebanon, if you can't speak Arabic, they're
Like
like doing
even if they speak your
charades.
language, they wouldn't.
Yeah, in
Some
other
people do
countries,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in Lebanon, it'll be like charades. Like, what do you want? Like, I'll help you. This, that,
Yeah.
blah, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
really want to help.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
such a cool place.
Like everyone in Lebanon, everyone has the answer for everything, for any
Yeah,
question.
you could pull
Even if
down the
it's a wrong
window.
answer,
Yeah, exactly.
they'd
Just to
always
help
answer
you.
you.
It's so true. And like I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
being with Stan, we were lost. I put down the window and I asked someone, and like they would just like help you. And then before you know it, 5 of their cousins come out of the shop to give you additional details. And you're like, okay, cool.
So true. So
It's
true.
really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
It's
It
a
is really cool.
contrast, Lebanon. Like really,
It
you have
really is.
everything here. Yeah. Like even the religions. Like we have like I think 18 confessions, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
can you
not many people
imagine?
know that. Like
No.
it's
No.
so diverse religiously,
Yes.
culturally.
It's yes. Yes. Like and even how people look like. Like we have people with blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes.
Mm.
Like yeah.
It's interesting because when I meet people that are not Lebanese, I'll say, "Oh, you don't look Lebanese."
Yeah.
But then when I meet people that are Lebanese, they're like, "Oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you're Lebanese." Like it's
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
normal.
Like we can tell, and I didn't know that before I went to Dubai.
Yeah,
Like there, I would see people like whatever they looked like, I could tell that they were Lebanese.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how.
I
I
think
don't
it's
know
the
what we have in
eyes.
common.
I think it's the
Maybe,
shape of the eyes. I don't know,
probably,
but
yeah,
yeah, but maybe it's just instincts, you know, or like culturally that
yes,
connection. I don't know, but
yeah,
yeah, it is. It's
probably,
really cool. It's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. It is.
But yeah, everyone that I know, like in the diaspora, and even people that are not, like, have been so optimistic and hopeful for Lebanon. And I think everybody's thinking about you guys over there and how strong and amazing you are. And like you said, like in a lot of countries, people complain all the time. where the governments, all right, they're not great, but they're not bad. They're not like Lebanon's government, you know. People complain so much, and I often think about the Lebanese
like in France, for example.
Yeah. And I think about the Lebanese people when they're like, they're done with complaining. Like, they know the government's not going to clean the streets. They're going to go out there and clean the streets, you know? Even if they have to borrow their grandmother's...
Like, we're done waiting for them.
Like, I'm just going to borrow my grandmother's apron. Does anyone have gloves? I'm just going to do this because there's just no point. It's just so cool. And, you know, like... It's
like, this is what I did. Like, I took my mother's cleaning material, and the second day she was telling my dad, "Oh, we need new cleaning material."
That's it. And really, I think for me, it's inspiring, because I'm like, okay, in Lebanon, if there's a problem, they don't wait for someone. They just have to solve it, you know? And it's like such a good way. Like,
it's like we survive. We don't even live in, like, we survive.
It's sad.
Survival
laughing,
mode.
But it's more like, it's almost like you can't believe it's real. It's unbelievable that there's a country in 2020.
But this is what's keeping us going. It's our spirit. Like, we're always positive. We're always hopeful. Like, in many times we pass through times of distress. Like, we're not hopeful. For example, when the explosion happened, like right after it, I told my mom that, like, really we need to move out of Lebanon. Because, like, for the first time, I felt like I wasn't safe at all. And but after that, after seeing, like, that people actually cared for Lebanon, like, after seeing Lebanon on international news, and people and all countries, like, donating, and like the foreign aid we've been getting, so I was a bit hopeful again.
I'm praying for a solution. I really love Lebanon. And the people, because, deserve, like, better.
we don't deserve all this. Exactly.
No, the people deserve better. They deserve better. And I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is, but I do hope that things change. But you know what I love about Lebanon as well, like the young people. There are, and I think for me, from what I can see and what I'm reading, they're changing not only Lebanon, but their educated views are changing the views of their parents and their grandparents. And I've seen so many examples of this. And for me, that is like, wow, like that's like, usually it's the older people who indoctrinate you, but this is like the young people.
That was the way, like, for the last 3 decades. But now, like, starting last year, maybe, this began to change.
It's like, enough. We did it.
Like, even the older generation, which is, like, really vulnerable, is starting to see the truth. Is starting. Because as you were saying, that they are really indoctrinated.
Yes, it's true. And you know what? I don't blame them, because when you think about how many wars they've lived through, how much propaganda they've listened to, and they didn't have social media and global access to so many news outlets, and they were just listening to these speeches. And if you ever watch, like, I know my dad, and like, he still puts on the Lebanese news, and it's like, so, you know, like, they speak with such passion and conviction, and it's so believable. And imagine listening to these kind of speeches every day, and and then now you have the young people saying, no, let's fact check. And, you know,
like, you become brainwashed.
And
like, factfulness, we want facts.
Enough with the emotion and the passion, and you know, like,
and the populist speeches, and
it's like, we don't have
politicians
clean water.
still do that. They still do that till now. How can they do it? Like, with the populist speeches, like, we're done with this.
And I was talking to you about it. Our generation is also you know, very done with scripted speeches and lies, and we just want transparency and authenticity.
We want genuine people.
Exactly. And I think this is, people are no longer putting up with this. They want transparency. And in an age where we have so much access to information, as they say, their time's up.
They're exposed.
They're exposed. The sad thing is, they were exposed a very long time ago, but the people didn't have the power. But now it's like, people have, I think it is the internet. I don't know what you think, but
probably, digital transformation.
Yes.
This is probably it. Yeah.
And global connection and support from all around the world.
Yeah.
You got this, keep going. We're
Yes.
behind you. Yeah, I know. We are. We're like, my heart is there. It really is. And every Lebanese person, especially in Australia.
Yeah, I know. Like everyone is asking me, how can we donate? Who do we send the money to? Like, tell us about the. Like, okay, cut that. Yeah, I wanted to say something.
No, I was going to say, I think people are asking, how do we donate? Because they're so scared that donations go to governments and corrupt people.
Definitely. Yes, exactly.
Because we would never have in Australia, who do we donate? It's like, there's these people.
Yeah. Even other countries, they're not donating to the government, but they are donating to the UN, for example, to special NGOs, to the Red Cross. Exactly. Yeah. Well, they're exposed, like everyone knows. Yeah.
That's it. They're out. Well, Stephanie, I love you, and I thank you so much for your time. You have so much insight about what's going on there. We're going to change. I know it sounds a bit maybe not the right time, but do you mind doing fast 5 fun facts, this or that, with me?
I'd love to.
Yay!
Bring it on!
Woo-hoo! Here comes fast 5. Okay, so woo-hoo! Stephanie, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Hummus or Bathanjan?
Hummus.
Hummus?
Yeah.
Hummus over baba ganoush?
Antwin? Okay, baba ganoush.
No, I agree. I say hummus too.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me think. What else can I say? Oh, tabbouleh or
fattoush. Fattoush.
High heels or flats?
Flats, definitely.
Pajamas or evening dress?
Pajamas.
Let me think of another
or
one.
Evening dress. Pajamas. More comfy.
Pajamas. Okay, these are the half Lebanese celebrities. Are you ready for it? Salma Hayek or Shakira?
Shakira.
Okay, this is something I'm just going to add in. I don't even think it's fast 5 anymore. It's probably 5-1 billion. This is a quiz question to see if you can answer it. Was Keanu Reeves born in Lebanon? True or false?
False.
He was born in Lebanon. It is true. Keanu Reeves was born in Beirut, Lebanon. Way.
No way. Wow.
Way. Yeah. So that's my.
I'm gonna note this.
Yeah. You are amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show / podcast.
Thank you
Love
for
your
having
work.
me.
Keep being you, and our heart's with you.
Inspiring me.
You inspire me. Our heart is with you, and thank you so much for all that.
Thank you so much.
And for being my cousin.
Yes, and I hope I can see you very soon.
Me too.
I love you.
Me too. I love you so much. And remember, guys, stay curious.
That's a good lesson, especially for kids.
You think so, Oliver?
Yeah, I do.
Later.